Hello and welcome to Railroad Explained, where we talk about trains, their history, mechanics, and more. Today, our topic is a somewhat unknown gem in the world of steam locomotive preservation. While there are multiple of these, this is one of the larger operating ones. Milwaukee Road 261 is a part of only 10 Class S3 Northerns. While it is not the longest lived or the most famous, its story is still worth a while. The S3s came along because the Milwaukee Road couldn't acquire new diesels. Before the wartime restrictions of World War II, the railroad had bought EMD diesels. However, due to the wartime restrictions, they were not allowed to buy any more of those diesels. In need of motive power, the War Production Board sent funds to build 10 new 484 Northerns to be built by Alco. They were delivered in July and September of 1944. The S3s are actually a combination of designs. The frame itself is based off a Rock Island R67B Northern, mated to a Delaware and Hudson Class K boiler. They were coal burners, producing 250 psi boiler pressure. Cylinders were 26-inch by 32-inch with 74-inch drivers. Alco went obviously with a very popular Walschaerts valve gear. They produced 62,119 pounds of tractive effort. All 10 also received an air horn, similar to Daylight and her sisters when they ran along Southern Pacific. I would also like to mention, I personally think this locomotive somewhat looks like UP 844. Yes, they were both built by Alco, but 844 is its own design. I also like the fact that for at least a while, both ran with the iconic Mars light above their headlight. The S3s were smaller and less powerful than the earlier S2s, but were comparable to the S1s. Alco, as said before, would build 10 of these, number 260 to 269. They were pressured into freight service and ran only east of the electrified zone of the railroad. Milwaukee Road was known for having a significant amount of electrified areas, so they even used electric locomotives for a vast majority of the freight service. During the Korean War, 4 engines were converted to burn oil and sent in the gap between the two electrified zones. 261, specifically, was in the Milwaukee Division in March of 1954. However, by the end of 1954, the Milwaukee Road had dieselized. The 10 engines being still on the new side, since at that point they were only like 10 years old, they were all placed into storage for the time being. 261 was officially retired in August of 1956 and was donated to the National Railway Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 261 would arrive there at the location in 1958. 261 sat on display until 1991, when the newly created North Star Rail selected her to become an excursion engine. The railroad chose it because it was one of the more high-tech locomotives, and its 10-year usage meant the boiler was in good shape comparable to other locomotives who may have spent 20-30 years on the railroad. The museum leased it out to North Star for 10 years. 261 was moved to the Humboldt Yard GE shops in September of 1992. Unlike a certain amount of restorations, they had a full-time staff to work on the engine. In June of 1993, almost all work was completed, and in September of that year, Milwaukee Road 261 passed its FRA inspection and was cleared to run on the main line. The engine would tour all over the local area and throughout the rest of the United States. 1995, it went to Steamtown in Scranton, Pennsylvania. A Hancock 3-chime whistle was installed to replace the Atchison Santa Fe 6-chime whistle. Even after the original whistle was returned, it kept the 3-chime, and of course, it still retained the air horn. During its operations, the Friends of 261 would take over the organization of excursion trips. However, in 2002, Friends of 261 had come up with a insurance issue, so they decided to team up with Amtrak and made sure the locomotive met Amtrak standards. 261 would run excursions all throughout 2003 and up to 2008. In 2008, 261 had to go through its mandated FRA 15-year rebuild. Work was temporarily halted to work on 4449 at that time. In 2009, the Friends of 261 cut the lease with the museum due to rising costs. And for a while, the fate of 261 wasn't quite known. She sat around and were potential buyers for her, but nothing came of it. 261 in 2010 would be bought by Friends of 261 for $225,000. 2 years later, 261 would once again run under her own power, and she continues to operate on excursion trips to this day. In March of 2021, a $200,000 proposal was made to convert 261 from burning coal to oil. A lot of engines do this because oil burns cleaner compared to coal. As said previously, Ford locomotives already had this modification made to them in the past, and because of that, converting 261 to run on oil would not be the most challenging thing in the world. 261 is very successfully running excursion trips on the north side of the United States. Unfortunately, it is not a well-known locomotive, and I do believe that she deserves the spotlight a lot more. These days, we are entirely taken up by 765, 844, 4014, 611, and in the end, 261 really needs more love. She is such a magnificent engine, but fortunately, a lot of people don't really know about her. Yes, her service life was short. Yes, she isn't the most remarkable locomotive in the world, but she's a surviving steam locomotive. In the end, that's what really counts. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried talking slower a little bit this time, tried to make my voice a lot more clear. However, I did rush through this. I will admit, I did rush through this a little bit just because I already had a previous video recorded. However, I accidentally deleted all of it, so I just wanted to get this video out for the sake of maintaining a good upload schedule. Sorry about that. If you want to continue to post ideas down in the comments below, I try to at least mark down the vast majority of them. I have right now a total of like 39 topics or so, and I believe I'm going to start just going through and trying to figure out what I can do. I already have a few scripts written. I'm probably going to try to finish those up first, and then I'm going to basically just flip a coin and see what topics there are. So if your topic gets spoken up to quite early, then congratulations. If not, that's not going to happen, but it might be a little bit before it happens or anything like that. And for probably the first time, I can actually find a lot of footage on this locomotive, and since it's still in running condition, we know a little bit more about its history and things like that. I'll leave a link down to Friends of 261. Hopefully you guys could enjoy this locomotive as much as I do. With that said, next video, I have no idea what it's going to be on, quite frankly. We'll have to see. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.